I'm Todd Pendleton. I'm a engineer paramedic for the Scottsdale Fire Department. Prior to Scottsdale Fire Department, I worked for 2.5 years for Rural Metro, and when we transitioned to the municipal department, I was hired on. So I've been on for about 8 years. I work as a guide, and we guide in the Grand Canyon for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. We guide patients, family members, and supporters, and I've been planning this trip to Everest for a few years now, and I asked them if I could raise a little money for them on the side. It's kind of my small way, for their charity and the cause for blood cancers. And they got me in touch with the local chapter here in Phoenix, and they set up a donation page, and I've kind of taken it from there. One of my sponsors, donated the guitar to me, and it was signed by Alice Cooper. And basically it was kind of to raise more awareness and money. It sounded like a good idea at the time until about halfway up. It was much more difficult than I thought it was going to be. But I was able to get it up to the summit and take a few photos. And it's kind of gotten a lot of recognition since then. And I'm donating the guitar off on eBay for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and that auction hopefully will raise a little more money for the cause. I'd read all the books, seen all the movies, just all the history of it, and I just wanted to go see it. And I actually have Sherpa friends that I'd met in Colorado that have a lodge on the way up to Everest Base Camp, and went to visit them in 2010, and went on up to base camp. And then I just kind of, at that point, felt it was something I could do. I kind of felt compelled to try it. The trip was a lot of things. It's something I've been planning for years. It's beautiful, it's terrifying. You're gone. It was a 2-month, grind on the mountain. It takes a couple weeks just getting up to Everest Base Camp. You basically pack all your gear on yaks. It takes about 10 to 14 days to get up to base camp. You go village to village. And once you get up to base camp, the climb kind of really begins. And you're on a glacier, a flowing glacier, the Leukemia Glacier, for roughly a month and a half. And basically you try to sneak up to the summit when the winds die down after all this acclimatization that's taken place over the last month and a half. There's a lot of downtime. The food's not great. I mean, it's kind of what we called it a suffer fest with different layers of suffering, and each day was more difficult than you thought the last was. Death's palpable. Anytime you put your crampons on, there's a chance you could die, so that's always in the back of your mind. There's avalanches every day, there's rock slides, so you kind of get used to listening to that. You're living on the glacier, it's cracking and popping, so it's a living thing. You go up the Kumu Icefall, it's a flowing icefall of 4 feet a day, so it's alive as well. So you're kind of traveling through this labyrinth of ice and snow, which I went through 6 times. So every day it was something different, and then when you get to the top of it, there's giant crevasses in which you have to cross on aluminum ladders, and you have basically knives on your feet, what crampons are, to stick in the ice and snow. And just walking across the ladder in those was pretty tricky when you're over a 500-foot crevasse, with flimsy ropes. So you have that to kind of deal with, and that's very memorable and scary and exciting all at the same time. There was death on the mountain. 9 people died while I was there, so you definitely got to keep your wits about you. You're exhausted the whole time. There was times that I was crawling on my hands and knees for, maybe a half mile. It's so deep, and you're counting your steps, just trying to make it 5 steps because you're gasping for air because you got a third less oxygen. So it's not like anything you've experienced. It feels like you have a bag over your head when you're trying to breathe the whole time. So you have to use a supplemental oxygen above what they call the death zone, which is 25,000 feet. So you're on oxygen from there on up, which you can't really tell you're on it, but I guess it keeps you alive, helps with the acclimatization. You really have to focus on what you're doing, especially if you're going through the ice fall, going over crevasses, you know, clipping in and out of ropes on the Lhotse face. And that the summit day is by far the most, you know, difficult thing I've ever done in my life. And basically all month and a half and all this years of training and everything kind of went into that final day. You get your one shot at it, you spend all this money and all the training and have all these people backing on you, and you kind of have the last day. So you may have a nice day, or you may have a day like we had, where we had a lot of winds and snow and ice, and had to turn around at one point and descend, and I pretty much thought I'd lost the summit at that point. And about an hour later, met up with the rest of the team, turned back around, and just kind of slowly plodded up and actually made it to the summit. It's emotional. You can't believe you made it. Relief, definite relief. So all that stuff kind of goes through your head at once, and then you take in the sight. You can see the curvature of the earth. You take some photos, and then it's, how am I going to get down this thing at that point? And so you just start descending. So we're probably up there 20, 30 minutes at the most. It was about a 16-hour day total, and I ended up getting a little frostbite on the face and my toes and my fingertips. Successful trip overall. I'm pretty happy about it.